Hi, my name is Nash Curry, and I'm the CEO.
I'm Ron Young, the CTO.
I'm John Byrne, I'm the COO. I'm Willie Orton, I'm the CFO.
I'm Leslie Mendel, and I'm the CSO.
And we are Fresco Advertising. So one day I came home from school and was watching TV and turned on the news and saw that school districts in other states were starting to put advertisements on the side of school buses. And I thought to myself, now why would they be doing that? And after doing some research and digging in, I realized that school districts throughout the nation are receiving massive budget cuts. As you can see here, nearly 20% has been cut from school budgets grades K through 12 since 2011. This is a huge problem. Teachers are having to get cut, schools can't get the supplies that they want, and it's just a mess. Now, even though there are these huge budget cuts throughout the nation, schools are still wanting to get towards a trend of getting computers in their classroom and other mobile devices. As shown here, in 1983, there were 40 students to every one computer. In 1998, there was 6.5 to 1, and now in 2009, 97% of all classrooms have one or more computers inside of them. And that the rate is growing now, and now there's 5.3 computers to every one student. And like I said, it's growing rapidly. Now, after realizing these problems, we thought to ourselves, what could be a unique way to help these schools regenerate this money that they're losing? And that's when we came up with the idea of Fresco advertisements. At Fresco, we take advertisements and put them on the school computer, giving the school a portion of the money while we keep the other percentage. Now we use this doing network verification, where every time we connect to the school Wi-Fi, a splash screen pops up and you have to verify being on the network. You click OK, and on the sides there will be different advertisements. And these companies will pay us to be on the side of the school computers, which is where we get the money to give a percentage to the school, or we will keep the other percentage. Now, it can be a wide variety of companies, and we'll also have a screening process to make sure that the ads are appropriate. So, for example, you can't have a Dos Equis ad on the school computer, it just wouldn't work. Wouldn't be appropriate. Now, here are our customer segments. We have two customer segments. The first ones are school districts. To start off with, we will be primarily focusing on high schools, and if we get funded later on in the years, we will also want to expand to middle schools and elementary schools, because we know that they're also getting mobile devices like iPads and Chromebooks. Now, our second is different companies. It can either be local companies and large corporations. The local companies can be places like Shaku, a new restaurant in town, Cook Street Coffee, Meatheads. It can really be anything. And that's the same with the large corporations. It can vary from Staples, PepsiCo, Abercrombie & Fitch, and we know it can be a wide variety because high school students are the #1 targeted audience in the nation.
Okay, our competitors, we have like 3 main competitors. One of them is Boingo, which it's a network where you have to verify that you're using that Wi-Fi hotspot in like airports and like restaurants. And then there's the buses who have the actual ads on them. And then there's Channel 1 News, in which they donate TVs to schools with the condition that the schools have to watch a 3-minute video every morning at the start of each day. What makes us different is that we're streamlining the process that the other competitors are doing into one simple technological procedure, and we're benefiting the schools. We're giving them money instead of taking money away from them.
Okay, again, my name is Willie Orton, and I'm the CFO. And as you can see here, there is great potential for money to be made. In our total addressable market, we have just over $1 billion. In our serviceable addressable market, we have almost $300 million. And in our market share, we have $730,000. Now, our total addressable market is comprised of the 58 million student and faculty in the United States. For our serviceable addressable market, that is cut down to high schools, which is 16 million student faculty. And for our market share of $730,000, we took the approximately 100 school districts in Illinois with a success rate of 3 schools, and we pulled in those 3 schools, and we generated $730,000. Now, going into a little more complex, how do we exactly make money? Our revenue system is based off of pay-per-view. So we are asking companies for 10 cents per impression, and then we're taking a 50-50 cut from those schools. Now, compared to YouTube asks for 20 cents per impression on average for most of their videos. So our approach is much more conservative for companies. It is 50% of what YouTube asks. Also, the 50-50% cut is much more generous than what YouTube asks for their videos. So for example, if you have a YouTuber who makes videos on their channels, they get 5% of the cut of how much money is generated, and YouTube takes the other 95%. In comparison to us, we take a 50-50 cut right across the board. Assuming that there are approximately 22 school days in a month, and we have about 8 impressions a day per student, the result is a highly profitable and scalable model which can generate large amounts of money. As you can see here, by year 1, we actually expect to make $1.3 million, and by year 5, we are expecting to see around $16 million. And while that may seem very large, we showed you before that our margins for how much money we give back to schools is much greater than YouTube, and also we are much more conservative in how much money we are asking for pay-per-view and impressions for companies. So, our gross profit is the same as the revenue because we don't have any costly goods. All of our product is developed through the SG&A and startup costs. Our SG&A consists of the advertising maintenance salary. We plan to hire a technician who will help maintain our network verification system while also installing it in different schools. And we plan to have a salary of $60,000 a year. While that may seem like a lot, we plan to also cover that money through what we can generate in each year, which is successfully more exponential than the last. Also, our team salaries are the equivalent. We plan to implement the team salaries for all of us in years 3 through 5. So we plan to each have $12,000 annually, and that will, as I said before, continue years 3 through 5, adding on $60,000 annually. And also we will need, in years 3 through 5, we plan to implement office rent space for $1,000 per month, and that will be implemented years 3 through 5, so $12,000 in those 3 coming years. As for our startup costs, we plan to implement a patent, and that patent costs around $5,000 in its preliminary stages, and then to develop the first advertising page, it costs us $5,000 as well. So the startup cost is $10,000, and SG&A is around $130,000.
So what are we doing for a minimal viable product? First, we're going to talk to 6 local schools, so Barrington High School, Bremen, Conants, Schaumburg, etc. And then we're going to pitch our idea. We're going to explain how it costs them no money at all. And then if they're interested, we'll put them on a list, and then we'll go to more schools. On the other side, we're going to talk to local businesses, and we're going to pitch our idea and tell them what our program is about. We're going to tell them how we're going to give them a very low price per view, and then hopefully they'll also be interested. We're hoping for a 4 out of 7 interest rate.
So this is the timeline for our MVP. Actually, tomorrow we're going to be meeting with Principal Williams here at the high school, and we're going to be explaining our idea and getting feedback from him, specifically from the viewpoint of the school administrator, seeing what he likes about it. And then February 6th through 14th, that kind of window is where we're going to be meeting with the 7 local businesses, specifically around Barrington, like Meatheads, Cook Street, places like that. And then through connections through our family and friends, mainly Nash, we're going to be meeting with 3 large corporations. And then finally, February 6th through 21st, we'll be meeting with those other local schools to see their viewpoint on it, see what they like, pros and cons, stuff like that. And then the key metrics for this, obviously, the number of schools interested. We're going to see what they like about it. And then the number of businesses also interested in advertising, and along with that, like what they pay to advertise with us. And then the goals for this would be like 4 out of 6 of the local high schools, and then 6 out of 10 companies.
So our cost is actually $0 because we're not making a product. Making a product now would be a waste of our time because if we make a prototype, we basically have a full product. So there's no point in making that because it would cost us a lot of money. There's no point at all. So all our real cost would only be gas, which we can take care of ourselves. We wouldn't need extra funding for that.
So in conclusion, we understand that this is a touchy subject. We know that there's been some backfire in Channel 1 News, and we know that parents want to protect their students from these things. But we want to make the message clear that we are advocating for students and for schools. By generating revenue and giving back to the schools, we can help them implement the programs that they want through technology and one-to-one programs. And we hope that you invest in us to make that dream come true for many of those schools that want to implement those programs. Thank you. We are Fresco Advertising.
Clarify for me, I'm sorry I didn't get it. What exactly is the product? I'm still not clear on that.
The product is we take advertisements from different companies, as we talked before, and they will submit a platform for a different ad that they can put on, and then we will take that platform and put it on the school computers. And so every morning, or it can be at any time of the day, in and the students connect to the Wi-Fi, a screen will pop up to verify that they're on the Wi-Fi. It's kind of like when you go to the airport and you connect to the Wi-Fi there, a screen pops up, and you have to click OK to connect that you're on the airport
It's
Wi-Fi.
an ad every time you open your computer.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Not specifically, it would mainly be right at the beginning of every hour, because that's the least distracting time for students. So it would be every single time they open the laptop at the beginning of every hour, a screen would pop up with an ad, all they have to do is click OK, and then they're done. That's all they have to do.
And schools can pick
So-
one of them.
So it's a pop-up ad every time they turn on their computer.
So at the beginning of every hour.
The pricing, is it really 10 cents an impression?
It all depends on the company and how much they want to spend. Larger corporations like PepsiCo will be willing to spend that much due to their large budgets for advertisements. And then smaller corporations will be a lot smaller than that. It could be 2 cents to 1 cent.
So I just want to directionally do the math. There's 3,000 students here in Barrington, 5 days a week, 8 impressions per student. Every single student's going to pay 80 cents a day. Not the student's going to pay it, but that's what you're going to charge somebody to talk to those students. $5 a week. So somebody's going to pay you $15,000 a week if they owned the laptop or the computer for the student. Is that right?
We believe so.
So would you, an advertiser, Cook Street Coffee or Staples would say, it's so important for me to put my brand in front of 3,000 high school students 8 times a day, and they're just like, Staples, 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 okay.
Well,
Then I'm gonna pay.
it would be randomized in
Yeah, so it'd be random, so they wouldn't own the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's, see, I don't know impression-based pricing, so take it for what it's worth. Did you do research on this, that's the price point, or is it 10 cents per 1,000 impressions or something?
No. We actually did different generations. We started at 20 cents, which is very high. Nash can explain he found an application where they actually manually show certain advertisements where you can get paid. And then we also looked at local companies where we were discussing around 1 cent. And then we found a median at around 10 cents per impression, mainly because this is 50% the cost.
Okay, so we're not going to solve it here. This is a fantastic, I think it's a fantastic idea. I do think you have some assumptions that are wrong in your pricing. And I think you can do a bunch of research, because this is not the first company that's based on impression-based marketing. I just think you're defining it wrong, or you're missing the decimal point somewhere.
Yeah, it's click per 1,000, and it's usually per 1,000. It's per 1,000 views, and usually they pay on clicks, not views. I would actually urge you guys to maybe go look at the Google advertising platform and how they're pricing it and selling it, because that's more
Pay per
similar.
click.
Yeah, pay per click, views. More similar to what I think you're doing is like setting up an advertising platform, and where you're connecting an advertiser to, and you're providing the eyeballs to look at the ad. And that's what Google does. So I think you could actually, they have a lot of information online that's public on how they price and how those programs work.
One thing I would do for your MVP that would give you, I think, a lot more information is instead of building the interface and putting all the money out to it, just selling the screen saver and saying to a company, Meatballs or whatever, hey, you want to be the screensaver on every kid's computer. So every time they open it up, and that's easy for you to work with the IT department here, just to download on everyone's screen. It's not going to be technology behind it. It's going to push out advertising, and maybe they'll pay you for that. Or
Yeah, advertisers will pay for what results in direct sales to them. You know, so Meatballs, if it actually drives sales, they're willing to share part of that. So they need a way to track those views are actually translating to sales. That's why click-throughs, they're counting, that's why impressions doesn't really mean much to advertisers if you're trying to make money.
and that's the technology power
Yeah.
behind it,
Yeah,
which you don't have the money to do.
yeah.
But you want to prove whether or not people will pay for eyeballs, student eyeballs. And I think a screensaver.
If I can make it a
although I
suggestion
can
of an
provide it,
MVP,
but
your MVP, if you were able to actually do something with Meatballs where they offer a $15 or 15% off on Saturdays coupon, you could track how many of those, with a code, and how many of those actually, and you only get that by seeing your screensaver.
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, so you can actually track the value to the advertiser, that you're bringing value to the marketplace. sales with your product.
Checkrestaurant.com and couponcabin.com have a similar concept where they don't pay even for, because they're willing to give you a certificate of $10 off because you won't spend any unless you go to their store, and so you can mimic some of those things they've done. I think that's a.
In what way have advertisers penetrated Barrington High School?
Good question.
Yeah, there's zero, right?
Yes.
So that's the barrier, right? That should be the, you gotta convince the administrator that it's in their best interest to give on that.
And why it's in their best interest, because you get money.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I
Welcome to the real world.
walk back to that? When you had this concept developed, what did you do to evaluate the problem? I think the problem exists. What kind of customer interviews did you do around your proposition?
Well, we did a lot of research online. We also talked to school administrative staff and also the technology department to see if they saw this problem occurring in this school. And they said, well, it's occurring in Barrington High School, but it's not as much as other schools. For example, the schools in Chicago.
Okay.
Just a lot of research online, looking to see the major budget cuts that we're receiving.
All right, so then with your UVP, did you have those conversations as well? This is the concept that you're wanting to explore. Did you get any sort of feedback on that yet?
Yeah, I'd say that we did, we talked to 3 specific people. We talked to Dan Taylor, Matt Fuller, and Joe Robinson here at the school that worked on the distribution of the laptops and how they're set up. And also Matt Fuller worked on setting up certain applications that are permanent on the iPads for middle schoolers.
Okay.
And we made sure it was important that, I'm having a hard time trying to do it.
No, so it's not a barrier from a policy perspective to have advertising?
That's what we're trying to determine right now with our meeting tomorrow, because
Okay.
well, we're trying to remove that barrier with the I guess the cut that we're giving, because most systems where they cut revenue through ad-based through advertisements, it's a greater margin. One person has a much larger portion than the other person, so we're trying to cut it down the middle.
Okay, what I'm just trying to get at is that would be like the first step is from a policy perspective. A lot of school districts just don't allow advertising to students, period, to keep students somewhat commercial free, because you guys are very, very attractive market to marketers. So for as long as I can remember, that is just the policy with students. So if you can jump that barrier, then
Maybe one way to jump it is when you meet with Steve McWilliams, Mr. McWilliams, I guess, to you guys.
Mr.
Is if he brings up that objection, and I would wait for him to bring it up because it's important that you don't manufacture an objection that might not exist. But if he brings it up, introduce the concept of vetting out certain types of advertising and saying we're only going to use advertising that benefits the student population, that's socially good. Like we're not going to do sweets and sugars, and we're only going to advertise things that are approved by the school board. How about that?
You're exactly right. That's actually what we're planning to do. We value the quality of our ads very highly. We know that our ads can be distracting to students. We know it can be candy, etc. Because we're probably going to focus more around school products or just local businesses that won't distract the students. So we know that the school worries about what ads they're getting. So that's one of our main focuses. It's not something that we're just glazing over.
And then do float the idea about a screensaver to him. So you can validate whether he's really willing to move forward with this. He's going to give you an answer to say, yeah, I like it, go forward, because he knows it's a school thing. You need to force him into a decision. Like, okay, great. Can I get a screensaver? I'll sell it. You can approve the advertising, but I want to populate a screensaver on every student's laptop. Let me do that.
Or a percentage. He's probably not going to give you all 3,000 students. Give me 100. Give me 200. Give me some
Love
of
it.
it.
Love it.
And then you want to rotate those once a week to have impact, as you know.
The other thing that you could use to handle this objection is you can allow parents to opt in. So, hey, the only way we're going to advertise to your kid is if you opt in. Now, by the way, if you opt in, your technology budget is cut by 20% each year, because parents pay to send kids to school. And so
That's really good.
you can buy the community's you know, just align their financial interest to it as well.
Yeah, we definitely discuss this because right now, for the laptops, the technology fee is $118 for the MacBooks at Barrington High School.
Last question.
And we made it
Great.
basically important to
Great.
contact.
If I allow you to opt in and advertise to my kid, and you can drop that to $100, no brainer.
Where did the name Fresco come from? What does it mean?
Well, at the beginning, we just had to come up with an idea, because we didn't have a name that would fit perfectly, but Will's dad just came up with a great name, actually.
Yeah, I's for A's. So basically, you can help you can help excel
Eyes
academically
for
by using
A's?
your eyes. Just to see the
Like
A's.
it, eyes for AIDS.
Yeah.
Catchier than Fresco.
Perfect finish.
A boom.